Hello, this is Sturgill Simpson, and you're listening to Bonanza and Son on Resonance 104.4 FM.
Okay, this is Bonanza and Son on Resonance 104.4 FM, and it's time to have a chat with Sturgill Simpson. Sturgill, hello.
Hello, pleasure to be here. I'm waking up, but I'm great. And I'm ready for that second cup of tea, I think.
Okay, or maybe a coffee. Yeah. So you played a gig last night?
We did, the Slaughtered Lamb, and it went surprisingly extremely well. I was a little nervous coming over. I didn't know what to anticipate, but we had a packed room, and it's a little surreal.
I think there's been a buzz about the album, so, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good.
And how's it going in the States?
Also, surprisingly, very well, because there wasn't really much publicity, if any, when the album came out. And it just sort of percolated organically over summertime, and we did a big cross-country tour all through the fall, and again, a lot of packed rooms. I don't know, man. I'm just kind of one day at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been working quite a long time, haven't you? So maybe it's maybe it's due that attention.
Yeah. I mean, I've been playing music my whole life, but it was never really something that I ever thought you could do for a living. You know.
Okay.
So did the local band thing for years, but for the past 3 years, I've been pretty focused.
Okay.
And things have. 3 years, people surprisingly, this business isn't a very long time at all to get.
No.
So I'm just very grateful, and to come over here to play for people is just nothing I ever anticipated would happen.
Okay.
So it's been really, really cool opportunity.
Apologies because I didn't make the gig last night. But
no worries, man.
Was it just you and a guitar? Would you have
Yeah,
a
it
band
was just
with
a
you?
little solo thing.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not really enough money now to fly a whole band over. Someday, though, we'll make it happen.
Yeah, indeed. And the reason I ask is because obviously the album is with a full band and it's got a really meaty, nice sound to it as the album. So
Thank you very much.
talking of the album, you mentioned, I read somewhere that you said the album's High Top Mountain, of course. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions, but one question was, is it, because obviously it's on Luke's Records in this country, but who's released it in the States?
I self-released it.
Right, okay.
I started a label because going forward, especially in Nashville and the machinery of that industry, if you sign on to work with other people, especially labels, very seldom do you ever have complete control of your art. And I just, with this record especially, I didn't want to sign with a label and then have 2 months of conversations about doing remixes and all this stuff. So I was just like, I just want to put this thing out there and feel proud about it. And it's been a very good decision, I guess.
Yeah. No, I think
so. Now I'm putting another one out, hopefully May or June over there on the same process. But it was released through 30 Tigers. I should mention that. It's a little
yes, I know them. Yeah.
They've been great to me, and Tom has too. I'm excited.
It's a good, interesting label. Haven't they got Amanda Shires is on that? Am I right?
Oh, there's Jason Isbell.
Jason Isbell, yeah. And his wife Amanda.
They've got a pretty good track record. A lot of great artists.
I think Amy Speece, perhaps.
Yep.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you about the album, because one of the things that I'd read that you'd said was that you went into the studio hoping to make the purest, most uncompromising hard country album anyone had made in the past 30 years. I'm just quite intrigued by that.
That was my goal. I'm not going to ever say that I accomplished it, but I mean, I really don't think I could have tried harder.
Fair enough,
I just wanted something that mainly I wasn't hearing anywhere else, really. In terms of like the records that my grandfathers played for me when I was a young kid, and like that, a certain sonic resonance, I think is missing, especially in a lot of modern country.
Yeah, no, I agree absolutely.
That's a conversation I know that's been beat to death, but I mean, it's just,
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and I think for me, I feel that the time is right for a real backlash against that, and. Hopefully,
yeah. It'd be nice to see Nashville have its Nirvana moment.
I'm sure there's a lot of people who would really enjoy that as well. I mean,
immensely.
Everyone I speak to says, "Oh, but country's and it's like, well, there's a lot of good country, but you don't hear it. And so if you're hearing, I guess it's like anything, any genre, hip hop. There's a lot of rubbish around, but there's a lot of good stuff, grassroots stuff.
Just got to dig for it.
But I was also thinking, because it got me thinking that statement. I started to think, right, okay, so 30 years. 1983, 84, and I was thinking about albums that are coming. And I just wondered if who would you cite as maybe doing something that you were talking about like that?
Oh, absolutely. There was a lot of other Kentuckians during that time, guys like Ricky Skaggs and Keith Whitley and that neo-traditional movement, as they called it, in the mid up until sort of late 80s. And then it feels like everything just kind of detoured. Garth Brooks happened, and all of a sudden, country turned into like a really bad Van Halen concert. And and for me, Randy Travis and guys like that. In terms of traditional country, that was the last time I think you actually heard it on the radio. It was about 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago. So
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I was thinking about people like Steve Earle and Dwight Yoakam as well, which were later 80s.
Yeah, Dwight especially. Steve never. He always fell more into like a, I don't know what I'd considered Steve. Songwriter, absolutely.
Yeah.
The Americana thing, that's a thing I'm still wrapping my head around. As to what exactly? So bands like Creed's Clearwater Revival, were they Americana or were they rock and roll?
Yeah, it's a funny one. I mean, I like the term. I've grown to like the term because it's useful and helpful, but it's so broad. It's like
very broad.
From him to anyone who's American almost.
Anybody that, I guess, I don't know. Yeah, broad and isolating at the same time. Yeah, I don't know. People, I get called an Americana artist, and it's just so funny because growing up watching Hee Haw or anything like that, I never ever heard my grandfather say, "Now listen, because this guy's a great Americana singer,"
Yeah. To me, it was more to do with it. It's kind of, people think it's a new word because in relation to music, but to me, I was always aware of it. But it's usually about cars, or films, or something.
Yeah, art,
or the way you dress. But it's interesting. But I can't. Like I said, I've grown to enjoy it because I can use it. But
and the word country can turn a lot of people off a hell of a lot more.
Probably, that's probably why people. It seems more. It rolls off the tongue because they don't want to use the word country, which is a shame because. It's become a dirty word, which it shouldn't have been.
That's true. I tell people or people say, "What kind of music do you play?" I'll say country, and they're just like, it's like, it's okay. I get it.
Because the stuff they're thinking of is like pop music.
Oh yeah, it is pop music. It is pop music.
And some of the new ones make Shania Twain sound like an outlaw.
Loretta Lynn, no kidding, man. Which is in itself, and here we are, the conversation. But for me, it's encouraging because I try not to really pay too much attention to any of that stuff.
Of course,
obviously. But when I do hear it, it's impressive how bad it's gotten. So I find comfort in that it. I don't think it can get any worse, So, like you were saying earlier, maybe the next step inevitably is for things with substance.
Yeah, absolutely, and open the door for people like yourself who are coming through with quality.
I find it very encouraging.
Yeah. Well, would you like to play a song?
I would love to. Yeah, play one called "Water in a Well." Say that looks can be deceiving. There's been rumors going round. One look at me is the same thing as believing. Everything you heard without hearing the sound. So if my eyes remind you water in a well, it's 'cause your heart is stone. I know sometimes it can seem like my blood belongs to a child that's grown. Somewhere between you and me, I've lost my way now, trying to get back home. Trying like hell, but it's too soon to tell. Our love has all dried up like water in a well. Lord knows I've tried to move on, get you out of my mind. You find your way into all my soul. Every memory I can manage to find. Someday if I'm standing on some big old stage, you're down in the crowd, trying to tell your friends, oh, I used to know him when, but in your heart you know it ain't true somehow. Trying like hell, but it's too soon to tell. Our love has all dried up, water in a well. I know you see what's doing to me. Up here playing my part in this nobody town.
Absolutely fantastic. Sturgill Simpson live in session on Bonanza and Son
Thank
on
you very
Resonance
much.
104.4 FM. Thank you. And I'm glad you played that song, because Water in the Well.
Yes, sir.
Well, me and a friend, we run a country night, what we called the Country Well. So there you go. And that's on the album, isn't it? High
It is. It's like one of a few ballads. Yeah, it was interesting. That was really fun because when we recorded it, you know, that speaking of Americana, I think the best way I've ever heard it put is that a country song says it takes 3 minutes to say what an Americana song takes 6 minutes to say. And so when we recorded that song, you know, we thought about putting another chorus on the end of it, and we did when we tracked it. And when, you know, Dave, the producer, and I were listening back, and it's like 5 minutes long. I was like, man, this is like, we got to shave this thing. So we were like, well, what do we do? Just take the chorus off, and decided on the album to leave it hanging off at the end of the bridge. So it kind of gave it this little Pink Floyd kind of ending to it, and I really dug it.
Right, okay. Which track's that?
The Water in the Well.
Oh, Water in the Well.
Yeah, just kind of,
okay,
it just
yeah.
falls off the end, and you know, even I haven't listened to the album in a long time. I had to step away from it because live it becomes a different thing. But even the last time I heard it, you know, it still catches me off guard. It's just like, feels like something should happen there, but
Right, okay, I'll listen out for that when I go home. I mean, there are some interesting sounds on there as well. It's not just a straight country album. There,
Right.
I think, is it the Ocean?
the storm.
The Storm, yeah. And the way
Yeah, I
it
didn't
goes off
wanna-
into the pedal steel at the end.
Yeah, I didn't want to just really, you know, make a retro novelty thing. There's definitely some modern sonic representation. The next record, which is already finished, where we've been twisting Tom's arm trying to talk him, pumping that thing out before summertime. Here, I think people are gonna hear a pretty drastic departure.
Okay,
Kind of
interesting.
ventured into some psychedelia. I mean, I listened to everything growing up, but if I open
Yeah.
my mouth, it's going to be country. So it kind of gives me the freedom to play with that
Yeah.
and incorporate some fun elements.
All right, interesting.
But, you know, as far as like, I never just wanted to say, oh, I want to make a record like George Jones because well, I'm not George Jones. I'm not going to do it as well as he did. And B, it's already been done, you know. So
Exactly, yeah.
It's 2014.
Yeah.
And there's just too much other amazing elements that I think could be incorporated in country. I think, like we were saying, to move forward, it has to progress at the same time.
Yeah, of course. And the Outlaws in the early 70s were adding something new to the genre as well.
Even the writing, and you know, it's what they were talking about, and it became more abstract. And
I was going to ask you also about the song Old King Cole, which I found quite interesting, and we've actually got something in common because you're from a family I think on your mother's side, was it, of
Yes,
coal
sir.
miners?
Yes.
Which I am as well. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but
You know, that's interesting, man. I was up in Glasgow the other day talking to a gentleman at a bar, and he was telling me, you know, there's a lot of the same situations, like where I grew up in Eastern Kentucky, it
Absolutely,
mirrors it right here, and I did not know that.
it's not in their interest to
Mono energy infrastructure, and you know, like
Yeah.
once it dries up, it just devastates the community. So you're.
I'm from the north of England, from Yorkshire,
Okay.
Originally, and Yorkshire's a big mining area, or was completely decimated. Now all the pits were closed down pretty much in the 80s. And you had miners becoming ice cream van drivers
Right.
and things like that if they were lucky.
The community was just pretty much leveled. I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
And so it struck a chord, that song struck a chord with me, definitely. And then also your mention of the mines going and OxyContin moving in,
Mm-hmm.
which also made me think of your new stablemate, Johnny Fritz, because he did music for the soundtrack to Oceana.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, him and this is John Macaulay did the soundtrack to the documentary film about Oceana, which talks about, I don't know if you've seen it, but it talks about OxyContin, and the place was nicknamed I guess it was OxyContin, I think, in the area, which must be near from where you're from.
I think Johnny's from West Virginia.
Yeah, and it's in West Virginia.
Eastern Kentucky and West Virginia are basically, it's the same world. I mean, Appalachia, that whole highway there. But yeah, it was the same effect pretty much throughout the region. The coal moved out, and Walmart and Oxy and heroin moved in, and that's all she wrote,
Yeah.
You got grandmothers becoming drug dealers because they don't have any way to sustain themselves, and Social Security cuts out, so now they're selling pain pills out the back of their trailer, and it's a toxic mix, man.
Yeah, it's food for thought, isn't it?
I guess when the government figures out another way to exploit and make money off the region, it'll be okay. But until then, I don't really see much help coming.
No, absolutely.
That's kind of what that song was about. It's damned if you do, and damned if you don't. But, I felt it was important to kind of. I'd written that about 4 years ago, so finally getting the opportunity to go into a studio and make a country record, I felt like that was a song that just kind of had to be on their album.
Absolutely, and that's what that comes across on the album as well as a whole. That collection of songs that you put together, and you can almost place it into someone. Well, obviously I don't know very little about your life, but it feels. It's like reading a book.
Yeah, that's. I guess the next one is too. They're all kind of journal entries. I've just accepted that every album is an unintentional concept record.
Yeah.
Because it's a little autobiographical, and mostly I just kind of that record, the first one especially, I wanted to do something that for my family. Where you come from, because everybody, in your heart, you can never go home. So you kind of hang on to the pieces from memory and romanticize childhood and things like that. But
of course, yeah.
As I'm sure you can agree, when you go back home now, like what you think of as home isn't really there anymore.
Yeah.
It's pretty. I guess they all are pretty personal. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And whereabouts in Kentucky were you born?
Originally, a little town called Jackson, which is in southeast Kentucky, right on the river. The Appalachian Mountains, and then we moved when I was later on in grade school up to central Kentucky, right outside of a little town called Versailles, which is a lot of horse farms, and it looks eerily similar to rural Scotland and England.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, riding up on the train, I was looking out the window, and I've seen this before.
Right.
So I can kind of see why a lot of when people came over, there's a lot of Scotch-Irish settlers, a few hundred years ago in that region. They come from one completely unhospitable patch of rolling hill land and all the way across the ocean and settle in another one,
Yeah, so right. I'm going to call this New York.
Yeah, this is New York, exactly.
Interesting. Do you live in Nashville now?
I do. My wife and I, we've been there for about 4 years.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
Despite all the negative
Yeah.
things that people associate with. I mean, it's a great town, great place to live, and for anybody that wants to come over and see the States, I would certainly recommend check. It's actually one of the hipper cities in the States right now. I don't know why that happened, but it did.
Yeah.
So it's a great place to get in trouble.
Okay.
And the music obviously is it's the best music scene on the planet. There's more consolidated talent in Nashville than New York or LA by far.
Right, okay.
So you can go out any night of the week and you're just going to see some amazing shows.
Yeah.
A lot of guys you'll never hear of or have never heard of, but
Okay.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'm playing in the unusual places that you maybe wouldn't, that we wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
Over here.
Yeah.
Okay, would you like to play another song for us?
Yeah, man. Let's see. All right, I'm going to do an old Moore Napier song. It's called Long White Line. I won't be round this old town anymore for a long, long time. Gonna hit the road, start looking on the end of that long white line. Gonna hit the road, start looking on the end of that long white line. Well, I woke up, my baby was gone. Without her, I don't need no home. Gonna hit the road, start looking on the end of that long white line. Gonna hit the road, start looking on the end of that long white line. Went to the bank to get my dough. I don't care where I go. I'm gonna push that rig, gonna push that girl out of my mind. So if somebody wants to know what's become of this so-and-so, you can tell them I'm somewhere looking for the end of that long white line. Tell them I'm somewhere looking for the end of that long white line. New York City, old St. Joe, Albuquerque, New Mexico. This old rig is humming and rolling, it's doing fine. So if somebody wants to know what's become of this so-and-so, tell them I'm somewhere looking for the end of that long white line. Tell them I'm somewhere looking for the end of that long white line. And I won't be around this old town anymore for a long, long time. Gonna hit the road, start looking for the end of that long white line. Gonna hit the road, start looking for the end of that long white line.
Absolutely fantastic. Sturgill Simpson live in session on Bonanza and Son on Resonance 104.4 FM. And that's a cover version.
That's a cover, yeah, that's an old bluegrass tune. To get Charlie Moore and Bill Napier. In country music, there was always like the trucker scene, the trucker tunes. A lot of people don't know that like bluegrass had a trucker niche as well. So that was like a really classic old bluegrass trucker record from the late 60s. Which, if anybody can dig that record up, I highly encourage it. Every song is pure gold.
Okay, there's a tip for you there then.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your gigs, because as we said, you played last night. This show's going to go out later, so that show will be long gone at the Slaughtered
That's
Lamb.
all right.
But you will be playing with Laura Cantrell.
Yes, very excited.
At King's Place. Are you playing a few dates with Laura?
Yeah, 3 or 4. Brighton and Nottingham, and then head over to Dublin and Belfast.
Okay, so that's the 13th of February, London's King's Place with Laura Cantrell, and then there's Brighton on the 14th, Bristol on the 15th, Nottingham on the 16th, Milton Keynes 17th, Dublin 18th of February, and the final gig at Belfast 19th.
Yeah, and then I think I'm going to come over solo after that and try to squeeze in another London and Glasgow show.
Okay.
Trying to find some venues. Got to figure while I'm here, might as well follow up. And
on this visit, that will be, or will you?
The next, after the Laura shows, I'll pop back over. And,
okay.
Also, I'd like to get in a little sightseeing. I've been so busy this trip, so that one I think I'm going to leave a few days on the back end to go head up north and Fort William and places like that.
Okay. Is it your first time in the UK?
This is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where have you been? You've been to Glasgow. 2 shows in Glasgow.
2 shows in Glasgow, London last night at the Slaughtered Lamb, and now here at ResonanceFM.
Yeah, indeed, in the heart of London Bridge.
Yeah, we've been. It's daunting, the idea of trying to drive here. I had no idea. I mean, I knew it was a huge place, but like I said, we were driving over to the station. I felt like we were going in figure 8s for about 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like Tom just wanted to have a talk in the car. So, it's like, where are we? But it's such a beautiful city, man. I can't even. London, Glasgow, both.
Yeah, Glasgow's great as well.
So much history.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so much to see. I've been here for I don't know, the best part of 20 years, and I've seen nothing. I mean, I've seen loads, but there's just so, you know.
Well, it's so funny in the States, you know, like people say, "Oh, I live in a really old house. It was built in 1943." It's like,
yeah. There's a couple of cover versions on the album. One of which is a Stephen from Oz song that Willie Nelson made.
Who actually just died yesterday.
You are joking.
No, yeah, he passed away yesterday.
That is so weird, because I posted I posted his. I think I posted one of his songs today, and I didn't even hear that.
Yeah, I just caught it on the Twitter feed last night. A lot of people, as a part of a songwriter, that guy was. I mean, he's a playwright. I think he's like a state legislator in Texas for years.
Yeah,
he's kind of a noble Texan.
Yeah,
as that goes.
Made poet laureate of Texas. Yes. That's tragic. That is. I mean, he's like the precursor to the outlaw movement.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't he?
Yeah, I think he'd had some health issues for a while, and finally, yeah, it was pretty sad. So yeah, I played cut. I'd have to be crazy on the record just because. Aside from I guess Willie's the one that brought it attention, but it's one of those songs that I don't know, for whatever reason, sometimes you hear songs, especially as a songwriter, and it just kind of resonates with your life so well. You feel like you could have written it, or you wish you had, And so that was always a song that was very dear. So I just decided I wanted to put that one on the album along with another old Ralph Stanley song.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of all the old country guys would do that. They'd take cover songs and kind of reinvent them, or and reinterpret them.
That's one of the reasons I fell in love with country music. Just that, certainly. Well, I was going to say there's no shame in covering something, but actually it's seen as the ultimate compliment, isn't it? And either a straight cover or rewriting of,
Make it your
own, Great Speckled Bird or whatever.
Blues, country, it's kind of part of the legacy. Yeah.
Okay, would you like to play another song for us?
Something nice. I'll do one called Time After All.
Okay.
They say life can decide, blink of an eye, our silly little dreams ever come true. But the dreams in my mind all go by so slow. What the hell else can I do? Wanna slow it all down, watch it roll by, see where the sweet melody falls. Wanna roll off a tempo, lay back and get high. It's on time after all. Grown tired of cold places, same old cold faces. I'm tired of the smoke they all blow in my eyes. I'm sick of the bang, can't take no more claim. Tired of yelling over the top of that back line. They say time takes care of itself. It gets by without no help at all. Like a jar of sand sits on the shelf. It's only time, Lord, time after all. Wanna slow it all down, watch it roll by, see where the sweet melody falls. Wanna roll off the tempo, lay back and get high. It's only time after all. It's only time after all.
Absolutely superb. Sturgill Simpson live in session on Bonanza and Son on Resonance 104.4 FM.
Thank you very much, Martin.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure, man. It's all just every minute here has been my pleasure. I can't say it enough. It's like
and all
ours new experience.
So. And I heard a lot of good reports about the gig last night. So
good.
And I'll see you at the Laura Cantrell gig.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I looked online at the King. It looks pretty posh.
Yeah. It will be. Yeah.
Out of my element a little bit. I'm used to the dingy bars and clubs, So this has all been I will say this though, for any musician, the shows that I've played here have been probably some of the best experiences of my life as a performer, because it's just the most appreciative crowds, man.
Right. Okay.
In the States, it's, you know, people are spoiled and jaded, and, you know, even people, even if they come to your show to see you and they pay money at the door, it's still like, it's more of a scene.
Yeah.
And you end up kind of background noise to clinking beer bottles and people talking. And
Okay.
so yeah, like last night or the night before, like when you start a song, like you could literally just feel the whole room just. I'm not used to that.
Brilliant.
A little unsettling, but yeah, it's been great.
I suppose we don't get as many Kentucky boys coming over here, so we're appreciative of it.
Fair enough, but yeah. So.
Well, yeah. Hopefully you'll come back and do another
Anytime.
session for us if you're coming back again. So yeah, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.